Welcome to the Earthworks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hello, all you impassioned grass growers. Welcome to this week's edition of the Earthworks Podcast. This week hosted by me, Jack Higgins. And we have a great conversation this week with Luke Knutson of the Rockville Links Club, Rockville Center, New York. Really a kind of fun conversation about the state of the golf industry and very optimistic conversation about the big kind of boom in golf this year. And we talk a little bit about the Barstool sports videos. I don't know, I'm sure most of you caught those videos. The one that was really about the U.S. Open grounds maintenance crew with Steve Rabideau. And they also had another more golf-focused video. So kind of talking about the new up-and-coming golf market. So it was a really cool conversation. And we also get into some good agronomy stuff. Luke talks a lot about the work that he's done at Rockville for the last 6 or 7 years. They've taken that time and kind of worked on a master plan and rebuilt the place. Really cool stuff. You'll hear about what he's done with POA. Exciting. So thank you all for tuning in. And without any further ado, on to the conversation. How was work today?
It's fun. Big old outing. Same as always. Homes for Hero outing.
Same.
Just hammered, just nonstop.
What is Homes for Hero?
Homes for Heroes, it's like a kind of like Wounded Warriors, all that. They make the homes and all that. Somebody gets one like every year at the outing and stuff, like an injured veteran and stuff.
Well, that's cool.
Real good charity, real good everything. Just, from my end of it, it's just another crazy day with way too many golfers on a golf course, though.
I hear you. Well, it's a cool way to start the conversation because, that's a lot of what we wanted to talk about today was, we had discussed it. Maybe we kind of just touch on the golf industry in the year of 2020 and how it's been for you at Rockville Links and, kind of then branch out from there.
Yeah, it's just, I think golf's booming. I told my board and, talked to some other people at the start of the year, I think this is the revitalization of golf. So many people are playing now, and so many people that used to play once a week are now playing 3-4 days a week. It's nonstop. Every day it's a packed tee sheet. We have to do tee times for the first time ever. So it's not congregations and everything. It's just, our club's alive, well, and healthy. And then, just huge demand later in the year for outings, all the outside outings and events and people trying to play golf. And then they're surprised that they actually have the demand for people to play golf in the outings and everything. So they're getting more people than they ever have before too. So.
Okay. So each of these outings is jam-packed as well.
Yeah. Normally where they think they have 60 or 80 people, they're coming in with 110, plus, or 100 or whatever. They're getting about 20 more than they expect for most of these outings.
And outings has long traditionally been a kind of a key aspect of the golf business and the country club business because it's been it accomplishes a number of things. It gets people out on the golf course, and maybe even there's prospective members in that group. And B, it beyond that, then it allows some community people to get, especially golf enthusiasts, to get onto a course that maybe they don't often get the opportunity to play.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's huge fundraising opportunity, especially for communities and everything like that, with everything they can do up around the clubhouse and everything. So it's, and it's booming right now.
Right. But then again, they also have their challenges for you as a superintendent setting up the golf course, but then also even for the country club as a whole, because like it kind of takes a day off the sheet. That's
the problem with membership right now, when you have all these rain dates and dates that were canceled in May and June, and you got Monday, Thursday, it's taking a day away from membership and member play. So, but you need the outings to help with budgets, maybe not as much this year with not as much spending going on with COVID and Corona, but it's walking that fine line. And especially here in the Northeast, with minimum wage going up to $15 an hour and payroll taxes and everything, and state of New York just going through the roof. It's a necessary evil to kind of help cover where labor costs have went over the last 5 years, without increasing dues hugely. So there's going to be a lot of clubs kind of trying to juggle that. Do we start to increase dues and give our membership and these Thursdays and everything, or are we going to keep cruising, doing all these outings and everything for that, the excess revenue? So I think there's going to be a lot of boards in the area having those conversations in the next few months, what they're going to be doing.
Very interesting. And firsthand, I know you're a very active guy in the industry as a whole. You just to let the listeners kind of know, you're operating this club. You're the superintendent at Rockville Links. That's
Yep.
in Nassau County, Long Island, so west, closer to the city. Very high population center. A lot of people. You're on the board of your GCSA.
Yeah,
Chapter.
Long Golf Course Superintendents. I'm on the board for that. I'm a director position there. And,
excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know something that we talked earlier in the season. Another thing that I want to touch on, it kind of was that you were at the lobby day up in Albany. When was it? Like maybe last winter? And something that you brought to me then after that event was the term carbon sequestration and what that might mean for the golf course industry in the future.
Yeah, it's a huge buzzword that you heard from every politician up there, and also all their aides that you meet with up there. We were up, lobby day was I think start of March. It was literally it was right before ski day for the Northeast ski day. It was a few weeks out before, I think it was end of February,
Okay. Yeah. Well, you were one of the last guys I saw before it went into shutdown.
Yeah.
I was out there like the week of March 9th.
Oh yeah. We are all at dinner and everything. Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did that.
That was like the last great week of work.
I'm glad we did that because it was the last dinner I was out to. So it was
cool,
a good
man.
dinner.
Me too.
Good group of guys. We almost didn't do it, so I'm glad we did. But no, the big word that you kept hearing was carbon sequestration and then tax credits for it.
Aha.
And so that's where, from the golf industry, I think it's important for someone like myself who applies, some earthworks products and other carbon source products, whether it's sprayable or granular. If there's going to be tax credits thrown around coming up in 3 to 5 years down the road, we need to start being able to kind of quantify and think along those lines and everything. That's kind of what I came out of there for. Their favorite thing was carbon sequestration and tax credits because of it.
Right.
So, I don't know what form those are coming in, but that's definitely on the state and national level something that you're hearing an awful lot about. And I think that's kind of where our attentions are going to turn to next as an industry for some of this environmental stuff is, stuff that we're already doing, but being able to quantify it, because
we have to be able to quantify it.
Yeah, it might equate to some tax credits and some money coming back our way and everything. And it might be, it might be worth it sometimes in the future if they're doing that to choose something that's got some carbon based in it, to spread in your rough or something like that, flower beds, all that, and then all the biochar and aqua char that you see in the agricultural side of it now. Maybe that's something we're using in mulch beds and everything, just because it's going to offset. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can look at that, and everybody's going to think about it a little different way on their property and what they can do. But it was interesting to go up there and hear just that buzzword. It used to be sustainability. We need to be sustainable. And you heard that so much, you got sick. But, it's, I think that's kind of the way that our focus is going to go. And I think if some of us are able to quantify that and help everybody else out, I think 3 to 5 years down the road, when this stuff finally starts passing, state level, national level, we're going to be ready for it.
I like that approach, because the reality is that we can mold that conversation. It's our job to, as an industry, because we know what's doable. I mean, on the environmental side of things, we're in a really unique position that we are an environmental benefit to the greater community. Like you've got a site there that is covered in turf grass that just literally pumps carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere down into the root zone, builds topsoil. It's a cover crop. That's what it does. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that story to be told. And then if the rubber can really meet the road with some dollars,
Yeah.
that kind of makes the difference.
Yeah. And I think from what you hear, from the political side of it, it's coming, but is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 10? But
And how is
something,
it quantified? That's the other thing.
yeah. And, the speed of it might be, that might be decided in a few weeks with an election here. Are we pushing Green Deal type of things, or are we pushing, the new Green Deal, whatever it is, I'm not trying to
Yes,
get political with it,
this
but
would
it
like
could be fast tracked.
it would fall into something like that. I mean, it does, but it doesn't even require like a buzzword like a Green New Deal. I think it's even part of like maybe the Farm Bill. In fact, I
Yeah.
know that it had been brought up in the federal Farm Bill conversation like maybe 2 years ago when they did like a big revamp of the federal Farm Bill. So
Yeah. And, anytime our industry can piggyback that, especially, properties like myself, we're 100 acres, but I'm using a lot of carbon-based fertility right now. And
yes.
if that helps me stretch my fertility budget and everything, even if it, even if it's a $10,000 tax credit or something that I get to apply to my budget, that's a big deal, and that can help out a lot of other places, especially daily fees trying to stretch and needing a little more fertility. If you're spending $4,000 to do on fairways, but you're getting $2,500 of it back, it's going to help guys make decisions. So it's going to be interesting where it goes. It's something I was really surprised and just kind of triggered when I was up there at lobby day, just how much they really talked about it. And,
I'm
just
excited
my
about
thought
it.
of what's going to snowball.
I'm happy you brought it to me, like because it's something that I have a passion about, and I had also heard, a couple. It's come up now a number of different places.
Yeah.
Like I see the momentum building on it.
Yeah, just with the buzz phrase and everything, the quicker we're able to quantify, especially in the turf industry, it gives us the ammo we need to go up there. And when we
Yes.
put that in front of politicians using the same lingo that they're already using and say, we already did our homework, here's the answer, it just helps the golf industry stay up on the forefront and everything too,
Absolutely.
and something like that's going to help ag, and it's going to help landscape and, lawn care and everything look a little different direction and start thinking about what they could start doing just to say, hey, yeah, we offer this line,
Right.
Yeah.
And that we are benefactors to the greater environment. We're actually doing the good work here.
Yeah.
Um,
It just could be, and then again, it just could be the marketing and everything of the next buzzword. Instead of organic, it could be, carbon based, even
that's
though
right.
it's saying the same thing. It just could be a change in the lingo, and maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I think it's something regardless we got to be ready for. And the quicker we're able to quantify that, if I put out, of your products, 5 pounds, 1,000 of 333 on 5 acres when I aerate greens twice a year, is that actually capturing some atmospheric carbon, and how much? And
Right.
if I can give that to politicians, like, yeah, I'm putting down only 1/10 of a pound of nitrogen, but it's capturing this much carbon out of the atmosphere.
Right.
When you're educated and you're able to do something like that, and it's quick and easy, that you can say for every pound per 1,000 you put down, or pound per acre you put down, it captures this. And, from your end of the industry, you do your homework. It kind of tees it up for the rest of us.
Okay. I got my charge, buddy. Well, so let's shift to something a little more tangible. You mentioned some of the protocols and processes you use at Rockville, and I want to talk a little bit more about some of the work you've done over the past, like, probably 5 or 7 years. How long have you been there?
I've been there for 8 years now.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you got the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, congrats, dude. It's such a cool place. So let's talk a little bit more about it, because what I love about it is that it is that tight, compact 100 acres plot of land in the city. Essentially, I mean, it's fairly urban. It's a population center, and so it's that 100 acres and it's relatively flat, but it's beautiful, you know, like, and you've
Yeah.
done some really cool work shaping that land, both for golf and for aesthetics in the 8 years that you've been there. And you did, and also I want you to touch on the approach that you were able to do with it, kind of a little bit at a time, kind of chip away at it.
Yeah. Well, what we did, they already had the plan in place. It's original 1923 Devereaux Emmett. So we
Okay.
have some good classic architecture, and it's kind of late in Emmett's career, so it's kind of funky and quirky to begin with. But the property is, it's pancake flat. The elevation change from one side to the other is under 5 feet, and there's only really one elevated green on the course, and then there's another mound on the course. But that, there's all types of different folklore. But basically, as farmland before that, they dug a trench and buried some stuff, and then covered it up with soil, and that's why I got a mound in the one area. It
Oh,
was
really?
because
That's how
they
big's
did.
the mound? How long is it?
It cuts across my 15th fairway, and it's probably only about 10 feet high. So I mean, it's not,
Okay.
it goes up, goes down. Then we have an elevated green right there too. So it's about as flat a piece of property as you'll ever get. It's probably the easiest walk in golf. You said it's 104 total acres between the fence, and we're right between some busy roads and everything, right here in Nassau, right in Rockville Center. Rockville Center is a very big commuting town, for the train and everything, not lately, but, it's there. It's one of the better commutes in the area and everything. So it's, the club's there. It's a community-based club, and it's not going to go anywhere. So they made the decision to go back to the original Devereaux Emmett design. Had Jim Urbina in place when I got there. I'd already worked with Jim once before when I was at Garden City Golf Club, when he was still working with Tom Doak and everything. So we kind of hit the ground running and had a vision. I already knew the Emmett from, he's the original designer from Garden City Golf Club too. So we did the process in-house, kind of cheaper, and, did 3 holes here and 5 holes there, and, had to restore, had to redo a few things that they did before I got there. But we're finally kind of there. There's a few bunkers left to do, and on one hole, and then some options around whether we're going to redo a pond or kind of move it or get rid of it and everything. But that's a few years down the road. But, we're 98% of the way there. Kind of got rid of all the modern architecture that they did in the 90s and 2000s, and a lot of tree work and everything else, opened it up and tried to get it back to its namesake. It's called Rockville Links, get it more of that Links feel. So
Yes. So it does play very much like any link style course. You can keep the ball low if you want to.
yeah,
You can play off the terrain. You
yeah.
mentioned those little mounds and kind of bumps here and there that you can bank off of.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's fairway height. Out of that 100 acres, we have over 30 acres of fairway height. Fairway and
That's what
approach.
I wanted to really
So
touch on. You've mentioned the work that you've done, but what was that work really? And part of it, I think, is that kind of it's like an ocean of fairway height
yeah,
grass and approach height. You have greens complexes that go right into tee complexes, and
yeah,
let's talk about it.
yeah. No, and talking with Jim Urbina and everything, it was, we need this place to play like it was supposed to play. And the
Mhm.
way we maintain stuff now and spray greens and the overlap in the rough, if you do rough banks into some of these bunkers, the ball would never get there. The ball would hang up, it would sit there. So we ended up going approach and tight cut right down into bunkers, and we expanded fairway right out to bunkers. There's no secondary cut. We go right from fairway to rough. It's fairway to high rough in some areas, and even approach height to high rough in some areas. We grew in a ton of fescue, and Fescue's the largest occupier of property that we have now, between fescue and native and wildflower areas and everything.
Wow.
Um, but
Which is
yeah,
another really cool factor where you kind of,
yeah,
again, links, but you kind of need that for aesthetics on this property
yes,
because of how flat it is.
yeah. It breaks up the holes
Hmm.
when it's all cut down. It kind of blends in, and it's kind of, we're never going to have this amazing property. It's 104 acres, flat as can be. You can see from one corner to the other. You don't have the elevation changes and everything that everyone looks for. But as you play it from first tee to 18th green, you don't notice that because of the way the bunkers are dug and everything else. It's still flat. It's right there in front of you, but all the fun's around the greens. If you're hitting the nice big wide fairways, it's not too bad of a day if you're hitting fairways and greens. But the second you get off the beaten path, you get in some fun because the fairways run the ball right into the traps, and then
Yeah.
you're having fun. And if you miss the green, you can go bunker to bunker, and the place plays so different every day based on where we're setting up the tees and also where the cups cut. It depends. Really, it gives a variety, and it is a course that you can play daily because you can set it up so different. It's not
And
the
with
same.
that much short grass, when you set it up that different, it'll
Yeah.
ultimately play very different.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Working around the green, we have some of the older guys and members, and even some other people that are higher handicaps. They're putting the ball from 30, 40 yards out just to try to roll it in and collect it instead of trying to hit a flop shot. But around the greens, you have those options to chip, bump and run, putt, do whatever you need. Everybody's got their way, whether it's with a driver, a hybrid, a putter. It's fun watching all the shots that people try to come up with around the place, and what works and what doesn't, for the guys. So there's a lot of options. It's a fun place. It's unique now, and I think we kind of gave it its own identity even between Emmets and everything. So that's kind of the goal we set out on, and membership love playing it. And, we hear it a lot from everybody else who hasn't seen it in, that 5 to 10 year, it's something that you could play every day now. And,
yes,
that's kind of what we strive for when we set up a course. And when we went out to do this, you just wanted it to be that fun and play different and set up different. And, we're South Shore of Long Island, that wind picks up or changes directions in the afternoon on you. So
it's a links.
Yeah. So you're playing the wind, and the way the wind's blowing dictates how that course is playing that day a lot of times too. So
Well, I know your peers and the like the GCSA guys and everything, they all love it too. Like, I think you've really done some cool work over there.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Now, it's not going to be a surprise to any of these grass growers that listen to the podcast that all this work that you're talking about on a 100-year-old golf course in an urban area of Nassau County, New York, it's like all this short grass we're talking about. It's not bent grass.
Yeah, it's POA.
It's POA, baby.
Yeah, no, and especially greens. I think my greens are probably, even the ones that have the most bend in them are still 80% of POA.
Yes.
And I would get rid of every piece of bent from the greens if I could. The bend looks so bad when it's in that CO POA.
You're right. It stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, it does. It's just a lot of older varieties because it is a 100-year-old course, and it's just kind of leggy, and you verticut it, but then it tries running again. Especially this year, bent grew really well this year. So it's
we were hot and dry, and after the rain stopped, after it stopped raining, it got pretty dry.
Yeah, no, I have a big mixture on fairways, tees, and all that, but greens, I would take 100% POA if I could get it. Just such a good putting surface, and the playability of it's so good, and the ball roll. But yeah, the bent in my greens just doesn't do it for me.
The shape of the greens and the greater greens complex is like, it really just lends to that tight POA that tight POA look. Like
but
and
also it's the culture around your club. Our guys are playing if they can in March. They're still playing in December. They'll come out and play on temporaries in January. You can't put that traffic on bent early and late. And we have just as much rounds as we do early and late. We do a ton of rounds, and we do, it's as close to year round as you get for up in this area, depending on the winter and the spring. But I mean, you get a 40-degree day in March, they're out there playing, and they're wondering when greens are opening. And, we try to get it going with them. But, this last year we packed so many rounds through. I mean, when you have that and only the POA is going and the bent doesn't want to get going because you're on the South Shore, that water's keeping you behind all spring long. It's hard to establish and push bent and get bent up there. You kind of got to play the hand you're dealt and just deal with it. And I can't imagine if I regrassed or something and tried to go to bent grass, I don't think it would ever work.
Right. Let's talk about all the regrassing that you had to do in these 7 years of projects. I mean, the whole thing was essentially like a regrass project. You would shave down areas and regrass. Now, let's talk a little bit about the process that you did, because it was POA, you were able to do something really cool and not build up a thatch layer, not have to deal So fill us in.
Well, for greens, in areas we grew in from plugs, but we also did our own nurseries and grew in the POA. You know, we took the aeration plugs, spread it out. We put a little bit of bent seed in, not that a lot of that took. You know, I'm able to get a little more in the nursery because it doesn't have the traffic, but where
Right.
we did plugs right on the green, that bent didn't go. You know, so some of my sod has a little more bent in it that I stripped from there. But on fairways and everything, we just aerated the area that's next to it. And, you know, we just cut it out and prep the ground, aeration plugs, a little bit of seed and, you know, some fertility, and then roll it out and let the plugs grow in. And we've had great results with it. And, you know, Jim Urbina, the architect, absolutely loved it because it was seamless. It's not like we were coming out and putting in bent grass right there and you see the bent grass for 10 years.
Forever.
Yeah. See the sod lines. He loves it because 2 years later you don't see the sod lines because it's the
That's
power.
what's so cool. It's like all the sudden, like you know, as I've been out there with you for years, like it's just the whole place took shape, and it looks like it's been like that forever.
Yeah, and that's what's been really good. And then, you know, it's always good when you do a process like that and the architect works at another course. It's a classic, and he has the super calling you to be like, what did you do for expansions? You know, he says you got to do it this way so we don't see seams. So,
Awesome.
I mean, and you can't really find POA sod or heavy POA sod anywhere. I mean,
No.
I know there's a demand for it, but I know people aren't really trying to grow it or anything like that.
Well,
So
and even if you did find that sod, you would then still deal, like you said, you grew your own nursery and sodded from that. You were able to control that process very well,
yeah,
so you would never end up with some foreign layer that
yeah,
you'd then have to beat through, like because that's the other huge benefit to doing it the way that you did it, is that
yeah,
like you're seamless on top, you're also seamless through the root zone too.
yeah,
And so you mentioned fertility, and you already mentioned it earlier in the podcast, the 333 myco product.
yeah,
You've been like, I know that's your jam. That's you're
yeah.
like,
No, yeah, I'm your best sales rep for that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, for sure. You totally.
No,
So thank you.
I've loved it in open aeration holes. Anytime I open up ground, 333 and renovate going, but especially the 333, and that helped with some of my problem areas and recovery, so I could aerate those when I first got there. But you know, we used it underneath sod, and we did that right into the plug expansions and everything too. So it's a good product, and you know, we see the recovery and the rooting, and then you see it establish a little bit better in those areas too when we're doing the plugs. So
Hmm.
you know, we went through a lot of it.
Yeah, thank you. And you so yeah, that's kind of the cool work. You into the fescue areas, you've got a variety of fescue in there as well.
Yep.
You've got some blue stem that comes up through it. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, no, it's come along. We're really happy with it. You know, it needs to mature for a few more years, and it's going to be a pretty special place.
So what else do you see moving forward? I mean, I think we talked a little bit about like what we think the industry might be able to do in the future in terms of if we can work with tax credits from carbon sequestration, but maybe more like what else do you see for golf? We had a great year this year.
Yeah.
Do you think that moving forward we can sustain this new golf culture that we're growing?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said before, I think this year we've been kind of looking for that revitalization of golf. You know, it's been kind of trending down, but you know, I don't think it's going to be the boom where we start building courses like the 90s and everything. And I think the growth of it's going to be more, you know, I hate using the word, but sustainable and, you know, more thought out in the process. You know, it's not going to be
Right.
built community, community courses where you get to own a house and everything down there, you know, that failed model. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, even if we keep 20% of the people who picked up golf this year and the
Yes.
kids, you know, I mean, it's been a great year for us as an industry to kind of show what especially private clubs, where the value's at,
Yes.
the asset, it's the golf course, it's great for us, but you look at like the pros on the range and everything all year. I mean, the lessons are through the roof, and the
Yes.
amount of kids that are doing that because there's not other sports available. even if you just retained 10 or 20% of them, you gained way more than you would have any other year. And then, the guys who only played, 2 or 3 times a year that are now playing 2 times a week, that, they're just getting used to it. This is their outdoor activity. It's that New York City area, I don't think people are going back to commuting normal in the next year.
No.
And daily commutes and all that type of stuff. I don't see
No,
it.
and people found the value in getting back outside and enjoying outdoor activities like that, namely golf.
Yeah.
Like there's been a re-education that there's value in slowing down and doing something outdoor and active.
Yeah, even a basic activity of going and playing 9 holes, and even if you're riding in a cart or something, you're outside, you're doing it, you're doing something. So I think it's a great uptick for golf. I think private clubs have seen that because I think memberships are healthy and everything in this area, and public golf is just booming. In this area, this area, there's not enough public golf, but
Exactly.
in the rest of the country, you're hearing the same thing. And I think it's great. I think there wasn't much else for people to focus on during the pandemic and everything. You got some golf matches, I think. And again, those guys that would play a couple times a year wanted to play in April, in May, because there was nothing else you could do. And so now you're getting used to playing those few times. And I'm sure there's people who got better at the game, because they're actually playing a little bit and hitting some balls on the range. So, like I said, if we retain 10, 20% of all the kids who took it up, and you retain 10, 20% of all the people who started playing more or took it up because of that, and people's spouses who started playing and everything when they never had before, so it was something to get out of the house. I think we gained more people and more regular play than we would have any other way with this. I mean, and I think it's all of our responsibility to just kind of keep letting them tee it up. We kind of stayed out of the way with processes this year at the club and everything. It's just let them keep running when you can, do the work when we can, but let this thing keep snowballing right now and hit the ground running in the spring again.
And go into it like what you said. All of management needs to go into this process of growing golf, growing the golf culture as the golf course is the asset. What everyone's really here for is the golf course. And to take it a step further, and I think that the good organizations have realized that who's the keeper of the golf course? The golf course superintendent and his crew. So they then that maintenance crew really becomes the asset as well. And I do see that there's a greater understanding of the golf course maintenance side of things. I think a huge benefit was the U.S. Open at Wingfoot and the Barstool video that went out. I think it really kind of opened up to the greater community. Wow, look at, there's this dedicated crew that sets up these golf courses day in and day out. And I thought that video was really impactful.
Yeah, I think it was great, and the feedback's been unreal from, even like my family members, like, oh, I get it a little bit more now and everything like that. But I mean, the amount of views and everything that goes through that, and, I think what you see is like, some of the biggest podcasts and everything are through Barstool now for the golf industry.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing about that, especially for our side of the industry, is I think we relate to that the most. They kind of talk about golf the way we do. They look at it like we do. We're not the professional golfer. We're not the pros. We're not the GMs. It's not that. We're kind of down in the trenches, go to work every day type thing, and just talk about golf and look at it the same way. When we play, it's for fun and entertainment. It's not because it's a career of ours. We take care of the course for a career, but then we go play golf for fun.
Well, and Barstools, first of all, guys that take care of golf courses, just in general, are Barstool's audience.
Yes.
I think Barstool realized that pretty smartly, that like, wow, that golf course maintenance crew really, if you look at them across the country, probably 70% of them are listening to us anyway.
Yeah.
So
no, I think they realize I think they realize that the maintenance barns, they're into the golf course in a lot of these ways and their access and everything. But, for the U.S. Open, the star is always the golf course. So they're talking to the guys at the golf course, and then between those guys, Steve and Wes and JR and Biggs and all them that got highlighted. I mean, there's not much of a better crew to get that introduction and start the behind the greens. It's Frankie and those guys were saying that they were looking to kind of do the hard knocks, like the HBO special, football. They wanted to do that and start doing that for these things. And I think that's going to be a hit, and hopefully it takes off and they keep doing it for more opens and more tournaments. And I don't know if they'll ever find a cast of characters like they found there at Wingfoot and everything.
That's true. But that being said, we got a cast of characters in our industry, right?
Oh yeah. There's plenty of them. So,
yeah, there's plenty of them. You get into some barns, man. You see some. In fact, every barn you're gonna run into some.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, there's not a lack in this side of it, and I think it fits them well, and I'm glad to see the traction that got. I mean, the amount of views that trailer got right away, and then that video and everything. I mean, it's. I think that did more for our industry than a lot of things have done ever, and just the light that's shown on it. And, hopefully you keep some traction there. And, hopefully some of their audience realizes that this is a touchable, tangible way to get to some golf courses and get into the industry, and helps us that way and everything too. Cause
exactly that. Like that's, we want to we as a golf industry want to tap into their audience as well. The rest of their audience.
Yeah. A good portion of that audience is, potential, whether it's help or potential future assistance and all that type of stuff,
Sure.
Hopefully something like that shines on it. And, hopefully that's something we can parlay into, some help in our industry here, it's especially around the country. I mean, where people rely on, college kids and everything for help in the summertime and all that, something like that's got to help out a ton.
Yes.
I mean, especially now,
right.
golf booming and jobs and everything. There's not a ton of jobs anywhere else. So
I hadn't really considered that side of it. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm really pleased that you were able to take the time to get on with me here. I thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime.
All right. Well, this was a good chat, and I hope you have a good rest of the week, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.